So here's the thing, we have a neck. And I have a decision to make. Do I fret the whole thing and hope that the neck blank isn't going to move once I carve it, or do I carve it and then fret it? Fretting a curvy neck is a little bit more problematic than something with nice flat edges on which to, against which you can bang, basically. Now, while I do trust this neck blank is not going to move anymore, it is multi laminate and strong woods and all that jazz, I am going to carve it first. But before I carve it, I need to glue on these binding strips. So that's what's going to happen. Now, I scraped most of the excess glue out of the binding channel, or off the binding channel, while it was still wet. But I am now going to have to clean it up just a little bit more. And I need to be careful to do this carefully. Let's just talk before I start working. I do not want to take too much material away. Period. Nice and simple. So, little scraper, and we just go in there and clean it up. Perfect. So, there's a few tiny little spots where there's actual glue rather than just glue residue. Thinking about it after the fact, I probably, or definitely, should have done this before cutting the thread slots. Nice. So the trick is to try not to apply too much glue. And I'm going to do it this way, actually. I don't want glue going in the thread slots very much. There we go. Basically remove a lot of work later. There we go. Well, that all went a little bit smoothly. I'm going to leave this to cure and back to some planing down. I messed up a little bit here. When I was chopping this off, I shouldn't really have done it there. Basically, the purfling isn't going to mitre. So what I need to do is I need to move the end of the fretboard before the binding goes on down this way so that I can mitre off the end of the purfling. So we've got a nice mitre that goes all the way across there. It looks like I've got my work cut out for me. That's just the spill, isn't it, really? So first of all, I need to have the exact thickness of the purfling figured out. And in order to do that, I'm just going to pare away the excess here using an inordinately large chisel, of course. And then basically, that goes on the end, and I know exactly how thick it is. And I can just mark that there. Easy. And then once you've got a line to cut to, it's, well, academic, really. You should, just along this edge, be able to see my mark where my scalpel went. And I've just rasped down to that mark, and it's, yeah, it's good. I've got the hell is that called now? Bench thing. Bench hook. There we go. Got the bench hook under there. Again, and that basically lines the end binding up with the side. Not something we normally have to worry about, but in this case we have binding on the bottom as well, or purfling at least. Moving on to the side dots. This is a bit delicate. I am changing tact. I'm going hand tool. Oh, would you look at that? It's already got a 2mm drill bit in it. I have much better control with this tool. Okay, there we go. We have done. I'm done. We're done. Look at that. Crikey. Okay. Well, we got super glue, accelerator, straight edge, fret leveling beam. There's a random bridge floating around. Brush, rasp, 100-year-old saw, 100-odd-year-old hand drill, brand new Bosch hand drill. We've got a coping saw, Ashley R's tool, a Luban little thing, BC Woodworks hammer. The awl is insane. Seriously, I've never had an issue with an awl being too shiny and causing an issue. That's just too nice to use. Although very good at it. Leveling file. This is a mess. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so I'm now happy. The binding is done. I really don't think I'm going to put any inlay on here. The rest of the build, all of that going on there is insane enough to deal with it. And then of course the side dots are now in place. So a little bit of tidying up to do. But basically, I'm on to carving the neck. I'm going to carve the neck, then put the frets in, just in case it moves. Well, it's all coming together. I have decided to fret it after I've carved the neck. This is good practice because the neck might move while I'm removing all of this material. And in this build in particular, I'm being particularly careful. Now, it does make the fretting job itself a little bit harder later on, but you know, it's not a problem now, is it? So I am not going to be using an angle grinder to carve this, as I normally would. I'm going to use Christopher's technique, which is basically faceting down the neck, and I'm going to use the fantastic Shinto saw rasp, because these things are great, and it's a little bit slower, but quite frankly, I'm making something, so I don't care. It's not loud, it's not dusty. I'm going to put in the headphones and listen to some music. Now, the first thing I do need to do though is have a look and see how thick the neck currently is. I require we're pretty close. Including the fretboard, it's 26 millimeters. I want to get down to 21 and 23, say. So there's not too much to remove off the back. First task is going to be flattening the back so that I've got the thickness that I want from the 1st to the 12th and vice versa. I'm going to probably bandsaw a little bit more excess away here, and then I'm going to facet it. So take off a strip at a hard edge and then bisect that facet again at either edge, and you end up with a nice curve. It's a very pleasing way of doing this. So yeah, first off, remove some waste material. That works. this is going to be nice. All right, mark the center line. Okay, and then basically I want to chop that in half. All the way down. And the same thing here. And then that's what I remove. And that's faceting it, basically. So let's have a look. I'm eyeballing these measurements. I could use the center finding section of the ruler here. It starts at 0 in the middle and goes out. So 0, center line is 12, edge is 13, so I'm slightly off. That's disappointing to me. And with this one, we're faceting the rosewood rather than the rosewood and the binding. Now, I can do this with the saw rasp. It's a valid option. This tool massively sped up my neck making operations early on in my career. I used to spend a day or two just carving the necks, using files and standard rasps and the like. Moved on to this. Now, there is another option, and the other option is good old spokeshave. The tendency with a spokeshave is to dish the whole thing, so you need to be aware of where you're at. But it is a valid option. I'm going to put this in a vise and have a go with a spokeshave and see which I feel like today. As a general rule, I really do prefer using tools that have an edge. I'm using a rosewood spokeshave to shave a rosewood neck. I like that. So what I'm doing is I am moving at a greater angle towards this pencil line. And then once I've reached that edge, once I know I'm at the point of no return, as it were, then I will go and flatten out the facet and take it out towards the other mark. So that, oh, there we go, basically. onto the other side. Here we are. So basically I have a couple of facets. Let's see if we can see that a bit better. It's really difficult with these the extra lines. We've got a couple of facets, and I'm now going to bisect each one of those to create a curve. And yeah, this little rosewood, actually technically a cobbler spokeshave, that took off a lot of the waste, a lot better. So yeah, combination of tools, woohoo. Okay, I just want to be able to see my pencil lines a bit better. Clear that off. And yeah, we're back in. I'm going to use pen this time actually, it's easier to see. So what I want to do is draw a line halfway, so midway between those on that facet, and same thing there. Halfway down that one. There we go. So all I need to do now is take that over, and I've suddenly got a much better curve. Same thing there. Go between that line and the center line of the no, not the center line, sorry, halfway through the center line. So pretty much actually bang on my purfling there. So yeah, here we go. At this point I'm just going to do it with a rasp. We've got that to there. So we've got facet, 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 top. Flat Iwasaki file. Okay, fine. Saw rasp as we started. There we go. Stunning. Carving. Lots of carving done. The veneer posed some interesting things. That's okay. But the edge there, just slightly weird. But anyway, that's going to all come out and be in the sanding process, and will look good, I'm sure of it. I just need to thickness the headstock. Now what I want to do is have it go thinner at the very end than it is sort of wedge shaped, which I feel is an elegant way of doing it. But yeah, a neck, and it's carved. Now the real question is, what happens to this? Split up. And there we go. Okay. This is going to be so awesome. There are finessings to be done in this, and that will happen in the final sanding, really. So while I'm sanding it down, the final shapes will be created. Probably just a little bit more in there. I need to do the tuner holes. I need to cut the excess off here, because all of this shaping in here is actually probably superfluous, because the neck heel isn't going to be that thick in the final instrument. And I also need to explain what I'm going to be doing on the fretboard. And about a minute ago I said I don't know what I'm doing, but it's not quite true. I am going to leave it for a few more days. It hasn't moved an iota, which is good, but I'm going to leave it a few more days, and then once I'm absolutely certain that it's not going to move at all, I am going to fine sand the fretboard. I am then going to flood it with guitar finishing oil. I will build up a guitar finishing oil finish on this like you have never seen before. And that will be left to cure and to cure for a little while. And I will then take the swarf. So in the fine sanding process, I'm not going to take the dust out of the fret slots. I will then build up a guitar finishing oil finish, go through with a fret slot cleaning saw, clean the swarf out, and thus I will be able to put the frets in, and I'll be using probably, not super glue. Do you know what? I probably wouldn't even need to put glue in, to be honest. These fret slots are relatively shallow, so there's not much of a gap to fill. And it will give us a very, very, very good finish, I hope, on this fretboard, because this wood deserves it. It's also going to take a little bit of time, but what's new with this build in particular. So, are you having fun? I'm kind of having fun, again. Although I've obviously just reminded myself that I've got some sanding to do. Oh well. Of these things are dreams made. Do you like scrapers though? No rasp marks left. Almost no rasp marks left. Thanks for watching.